All right, we're waiting for the jury to come back. They have a verdict, which I was saying I thought for sure they would come back today. I am not surprised. I even thought it could be a little bit sooner than this, but it'll be good to finally have an answer, and hopefully some of the loved ones can have some sort of peace. If you have any guesses, write it now in the chat. I am going to guess that he is found guilty.
Ready?
Yep.
All right.
The jury has made it.
All right, be seated. My understanding is you all have reached a verdict. Is that right?
Yes.
If you would hand the verdict form to the bailiff for me. Thank you. All right, the verdict form is in order. If you would publish the verdict and poll the jury, please.
Yes, ma'am. State of Florida versus Jermaine Bass. Case number 22 CF 011717A. Trial Division 3. Verdict form. We, the jury, find as follows as to count 1, murder in the first degree. The defendant is guilty of murder in the first degree, Jayla Bass, as charged. And during the commission of the offense, did the defendant personally carry, display, use, threaten, or attempt to use any weapon or firearm? Yes. Did the defendant actually possess a firearm? Yes. Did the defendant discharge the firearm? Yes. Did the discharge cause death of the victim? Yes. 12 of the 12 of us find the killing was premeditated murder. 12 of the 12 of us find the killing was premeditated murder and felony murder. We, the jury, find as follows as to count 2, aggravated child abuse. The defendant is guilty of aggravated child abuse as charged. We, the jury, find as follows as to count 3, aggravated child abuse. Jermaine J.J. Bass. The defendant is guilty of aggravated child abuse as charged. We, the jury, find as follows as to count 4, attempted murder in the first degree. Jermaine J.J. Bass. The defendant is guilty of attempted murder in the first degree. Jermaine J.J. Bass as charged. And during the commission of the offense, did the defendant personally carry, display, use, threaten, or attempt to use any weapon or firearm? Yes. Did the defendant actually possess a firearm? Yes. Did the defendant discharge the firearm? Yes. Did the discharge cause great bodily harm to the victim? Yes. So say we all, dated this 27th day of February 2025, juror number 1, foreperson of the jury. Juror number 1, are these your true and correct verdicts?
They are.
Juror number 2, are these your true and correct verdicts?
They are.
Juror number 3, are these your true and correct verdicts? Juror number 4, are these your true and correct verdicts?
They are.
Juror number 5, are these your true and correct verdicts?
They are.
Juror number 6, are these your true and correct verdicts?
They are.
Juror number 8, are these your true and correct verdicts?
They are.
Juror number 9, are these your true and correct verdicts?
They are.
Juror number 10, are these your true and correct verdicts?
They are.
Juror number 12, are these your true and correct verdicts?
They are.
Juror number 14, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Thank you. I can't see.
You missed
I
one.
can't.
I was 12. You missed one.
You missed 11.
11, excuse me. Juror number 11, are these your true and correct verdicts?
Yes, they are.
Thank you.
And juror number 12, are these your true and correct verdicts?
I can't see.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I know that you have spent a considerable amount of time and effort today deliberating on this case, and I cannot thank you enough for that, as well as your patience and with us and hard work all week. As you've now seen, it is why we need people like you who respond down with a jury service summons to handle the cases and the disputes that the parties cannot resolve among themselves. So you are essential and a true backbone to our system of justice, and I cannot tell you how much you are appreciated by me personally, as well as all of the judges here in Tampa, Hillsborough County. That much being said, all of my constant admonitions about not talking about the case are obviously lifted. You can do as much speaking about the case as you would like to, or discussion or investigation or whatever you'd like to know in addition to what you've heard during the course of this trial. I do hope if you share your trial experience with others, it does have a somewhat positive spin, so that when they get a jury service summons, they too will come down to the courthouse, as you all have this week, to serve the citizens of Hillsborough as you all have. I spent a considerable amount of time as a trial lawyer before I became a judge. I loved to talk to jurors after cases to see how the presentation went and what questions jurors had or didn't have, or just talk about deliberations in general. That option is open to you. Of course, you're not required to do that, but if you wanted to talk to any of the lawyers, or if you have any feedback for me, let the bailiffs know, and they'll tell you not only you have my contact information, you're welcome to get back in contact with me, or if you want to come back in and speak to any of the lawyers about their cases, you're welcome to do that as well. But officially, your jury service is concluded with the thanks of both parties, and with the thanks of all of my colleagues, the judges here in Tampa, Florida. So thank you very much for your service. Maybe we will see you down here next time you get a jury service summons, but thank you for all of your efforts this week. Have a great rest of your week and weekend.
All rise.
That jury got it 100% correct. Guilty on all charges. Still no emotions on his face. That's how he was through the entire trial, even watching and hearing upsetting evidence.
All right, have a seat. Any reason not to proceed with sentencing at this time?
Well, Judge, yes, we'll be filing motions, and also there would need to be a score sheet for the other counts, so I would request sentencing be set off.
All right,
And I also need to discuss then very briefly as well with Mr. Bass about a PSI.
all right, sure.
That's fine, Judge. I had not prepared a score sheet. Obviously, I didn't know what the verdict would be or what, if it could be lesser, so I just didn't have anything prepared. But and I know, Judge, in speaking with the family, I believe at least one of them would like to say something, so I know if we can just maybe have another date.
All right.
About that.
Talking to her client really quickly. They don't always jump into sentencing. In fact, most of the time they don't. But I do like when they do. I like that we can see the verdict and get a resolution with the consequence to wrap the whole trial up. Unlike some of them that can be pushed out like even 3 months, that's how far they can get pushed out.
It's of caution in case this affects either side's sentencing request. This will be my last jury trial. I am retiring effective in a couple of weeks for another opportunity that I have to go into private practice that I'm going to take up. So I won't be the sentencing judge if you want to defer it. But I know that any replacement would be reading the trial transcript as well as familiarizing himself with the testimony that's being conducted. So if that weighs into your decision making about whether or not you want to proceed today, just take that into consideration and telling me what your preference is.
Can we do it before you leave, Judge? Or before your last day on the bench?
We do, yes, and we're waiving PSI, Judge. I have discussed that with Mr. Bass.
All right.
I could have the score sheet ready by next week for sure, even potentially by tomorrow if need be.
I'm not-
Oh, you're not here tomorrow, okay.
You're what? Can't do it tomorrow?
But I could definitely by next week I can have if we have a date next week, I can go ahead and have a score sheet ready and we can proceed with sentencing.
Can you do it on Monday?
I do have open time next week, but I would need time to do motions. Wednesday? What do you have on, maybe Wednesday?
Well, if we had proceeded to sentencing anyway, you can always file the motions after that.
Thanks, Judge. Yes, Judge.
Good.
Monday's fine with the state.
The only problem is I think we definitely want you to be able to hear both just because you heard the trial, and any post-trial motions that we file are going to be more complicated if someone's then going to have to get the trial transcript and review it. Do you know what I mean?
Do you have time Wednesday? Or Thursday afternoon? I know we have the morning in here with you, or Friday. Is that possible?
Approach the bench for a minute.
So yeah, it's looking like it's going to be pushed. Once again, very normal. What we can expect is even if it happens today or, months from now, I think there's a very big likelihood that Shirley, his wife, will probably write a victim impact letter. So plan on that. Maybe even other family members might. If they said today, that typically would happen next. I keep looking for updates on his son because that I know of, he is still alive and recovering, but I don't know if there was any long-term damage from literally being shot in the head. So if I see anything about how he's doing physically and everything, I'll let you know. but he is definitely a blessing and a miracle that happened and he survived. And keep in mind, he was 8 years old when this happened, and his daughter, who did die from this, was 5.
Court's adjourned.
All right.
Go to the courtroom, please. Yeah.
So no sentencing. Seems like the judge may say something before having everybody leave. Maybe not. Hi, Dominique. If he's crying right now, wiping his eyes, that would be the only time he cried throughout this entire trial. Not hearing his kids screaming and crying, his wife screaming and crying. No, he is going to jail for life. Although, this is Florida. I'm going to really quickly look up, but I wonder if the death penalty is on the table for him. I bet it is. Let me look really quick. So far, I don't see anything concrete. I'm just happy that they got this right. If you watch the opening statements with me for this trial, they were pinning each other as to the one who shot their kids. I've never seen that in a trial. Day one, and Shirley says he did it, and he said Shirley did it. And that usually doesn't play out like that. I was surprised that the defense attorney was trying to take that stance and then push it to make it seem like it was the mom. It was clearly not. I mean, if you listen to the audio recordings and the video, it's very clear that she was just frantic and devastated. Well, another trial or just another day that the jury has to come back in and deliberate for this one? I do think you're right, though. I think the jury would have had to come back and they would have done their arguments, if you will, for the death penalty. That's just what happened with Natalie Cochran's case. So I do think you're right. It must be off the table. Yeah, so horrible. And to say, well, trying to blame the wife but then having proof on the police audio that he said he dropped the gun, it went off, it misfired. And it's like, well, now he's contradicting himself altogether, because he says Shirley did it, but then he says, well, no, he did it, but it was an accident. Not a good way to start off the trial, and that was day 1. Yeah, it was a very, very short trial. There's one trial that I started earlier today, and it's day 1 for it, but it is, what's her name? Her last name's, oh, here we go, Stacy Rodriguez, and kind of an odd day to start on a Thursday, but I think it's gonna only take a few days, just like this one. I would predict that on Tuesday or Wednesday, the latest, that's when closing arguments are gonna be. And in fact, I have to finish all of day 1 later today. So if you haven't caught up with any of that, definitely tune on later. All right. Well, the last time I predicted that somebody was going to be found guilty of first-degree murder, I was so wrong, because it was the Colin Griffith murder trial. So I was a little bit reluctant to say that I thought he would for sure get it. But he did. I'm glad he did. That definitely was the right choice. And I still keep looking for Oklahoma to try to go after Colin. But there's still nothing on it. So might be waiting a while if they ever even do it. So, all right. I have to get back to my other live, Monica Cementelli trial. It had so many breaks, so now that they've jumped ahead of us by a good amount, I'll skip over all of their long and tedious breaks. Yeah, Colin, everybody thought Colin was guilty. Literally, everybody thought Colin was guilty. I haven't seen one person on any news, political stuff, channels, just any source that is talking about this story. There's not been one person that has said, oh, he's innocent. Yeah, it's maddening. That's why I'm like, come on, Oklahoma, do something. We'll see. All right. I just realized my mic was off, sorry. We will be back to watch his sentencing. Probably won't be that long, maybe a month, but we'll be back, see what he gets. I agree with Dominique in the chat, probably not a death penalty option. But yeah, I think he would probably be found guilty for all the top charges. So it has to be life in prison and anything else that goes along, since he was found guilty on all counts. So, all right, hopping over for the Monica trial. Thank you for watching.